comfortably synchronize 4 units. So that is entirely up to the user whether you look at 2 muscle groups and look at left and right sides, or whether you look at a limb, for example, and select 4 muscles in a specific limb. If I don't know anything about an animal, as I say, then I start to see whether there's balance. Trapezius and the gluteal muscles, so I'm looking to see if there's balance between the front and the hind limbs. And then, having established that, I would maybe move on to look at the neck and perhaps look at something like splenius or brachiocephalicus and look to see whether the neck is also symmetrical. And there I would probably also keep the trapezius sensors in place and then just move the gluteal sensors onto the neck. And in this way, you can slowly work your way through an animal and look to see where the balance is and where you have issues of laterality or imbalance. We also talked a little bit about the suspensory system, and this was one of the things that came up in collaboration with vets in Virginia that looked more at suspensory ligament injuries rather than the muscle injuries. And so the smaller sensors have been developed to place on the suspensory ligaments and again monitor their activity in real time as the horse is moving around.
Is everybody watching over there?
We published a paper in Equine, Journal of Equine Practice, I think, of Veterinary Medicine. I forget the journal, but it's on our website. Sorry?
Yes, I looked at a lot of your papers.
Journal of Equine Veterinary Science or something like that. Yes, one of them. We published it together with Kent Allen in Virginia. And together with Kent Allen and his group, we looked at about 100 horses and measured the suspensory ligaments using this technique. And of course, you'd be right in saying that the suspensory ligaments don't generate force. They're not producing pressure waves, but they are, if you flip them upside down and look at them, they're actually absorbing shock waves that come from the impact of the foot hitting the ground, and they're transferring this ground reaction force up the limb. And in fact, there they have fantastic function in transferring the ground reaction force at a terrific speed up into muscles in the limb, and thereby protecting the joints from compaction or percussion injury and fracture. So the ligaments in this case are vital. In a healthy instance, the ligaments are extremely good at transferring this ground reaction force, this shock wave, up into the muscles. The minute they become injured and damaged, they become inflamed and full of fluid, and then they lose this sort of elastic ability to transfer force and absorb it. And in those situations, we see that instead of a small amplitude signal, we see a very large signal as they lose the ability to harmonically damp the ground reaction forces. So by using these small sensors, you can start to look at suspensory ligaments and look to see at the degree of injury or inflammation, follow recovery in these animals. But it's vital that when you do this, that you also measure the muscle groups on the same limb. You can measure biceps femoris, semitendinosus, gluteus medius, but you need to measure muscles at the same time as measuring the suspensory ligaments. If you don't do that, then you run the risk that the very small signal that we interpret as being a healthy suspensory ligament can just as easily be compensation. And we all know this, that if you injure a leg or a foot, you don't put so much weight on it. You load there on the healthy leg. And horses and dogs, of course, do exactly the same.
So if you see, that is now amber, and you see that's right. On the opposite side, purple.
Adapt to different ages and injury and how
we're almost ready to start.